Hey family, welcome to Before It's Too Late. I'm Isaiah Brown, a proud Black trans man, writer, and speaker. And this podcast is where I share my own story and invite others to share theirs. Here, we talk about real life, the good, the hard, the funny, and everything in between. What you'll hear are personal stories and perspectives, not professional, medical, legal, or mental health advice. Please listen with care. And if you need support, reach out to a qualified professional or emergency services in your area. All right, y'all. Let's get into today's episode. Hey, how y'all doing, fam? Welcome back to Before It's Too Late. I am your host, Isaiah Brown, and I want to take the time right now to thank everyone for listening to the promo chapter, my letter to my ex. And if you haven't already, share it with others. With that too, I'm going to explain a little bit of how that story came about. But this episode today is about the birth of Before It's Too Late. Now, the birth of Before It's Too Late, and that came from my upcoming book. My therapist made me write it, which obviously came from therapy. So with that, this time that I went to therapy, I went because trauma in my family. And the trauma was I got a divorce. So she had told me, man, she said, look, go ahead, go to therapy for 6 months. Then we'll talk about it. This is after the divorce. This is immediately right after the courthouse. And so I said, okay. So I had already set it in play anyway. But so the first month, well, I was hitting that thing hard. I'm doing the therapy. I said, I'm going to do this for her. Oh, I'm hitting that thing hard, man. I'm talking to the therapist. I'm opening up just a little bit. And with that, man, I realized this is like a car with no wheels, a plane with no wings. Man, I ain't going nowhere. So then I said, man, the second month, I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to do this for us. Let me go and put in this work for us, man. And so I began to open up a little bit more to my therapist. And he was like, the things that we were discussing or whatever, I began to realize that this ain't got nothing to do with her. Everything that I'm going through has everything to do with me. And man, I was like, oh God, Lord have mercy. Jesus. I'm a hellraiser because of what? And I just to see more things as I'm talking to my therapist, I'm able to see things clearly about myself. But that third month on forward, I was like, nah, I got to do this for me. So I put in the work for me with my therapist. And I was like, okay, this is cool, man. I made it to a point where like he worked with me. I went like twice a week or something like that. And then as I progressed, I went once a week. And then from there it was like twice a month, from twice a month to once a month until whenever I needed it. But I had to put in the work and do the work. And so with that, he gave me a task and he said, hey, have you ever journaled before? Or have you ever, just had a diary or anything? I said, oh, no, I don't trust folks like that. No, he was like, no, I'm not asking you to share it with anyone or anything like that. I'm just saying this will probably help you therapeutically. I said, look, man, I done had that option several times with other therapists. I'm not going to do it. But then I had to put some stuff aside and say, you know what, I'm going to try it. He said, so go ahead. I want you to write your parents. I said, write my parents. I said, I got to give it to him. He said, no, that's up to you. It's whatever you're comfortable with. You can give it to him, you can burn it, you can tear it up or whatever it is. But he was like, I want you to be able to see some things that maybe we can work on. And he was like, just write it down. I was like, okay, cool. So I went home and I got to writing. And while I was writing, I was like, wait a minute, hold on now. You know what? I thought this was going to be easy. Oh, no. It is not easy. No. And so for my next visit, I was like, all right, I went to him and he said, hey, all right, did you do any writing? I said, yeah, I started it, but I ain't gonna read nothing yet. I'm still working on it, still working on it. He said, okay, take your time. I said, all right, cool. Man, I spent maybe 2 or 3 weeks trying to write them. And no. Those were actually my hardest chapters to write, writing to my parents. And growing up, I in my family, we weren't raised to really, well, let me speak for myself. I didn't get the lesson, and I don't even like that because I know that if they had to listen, they would get, we didn't talk. We didn't talk about, stuff that we got going on or whatever. And like, or as a kid, I didn't get it. But anyway, I didn't know how to talk to my parents and stuff. So that was difficult for me to write. So anyway, I said, you know what, man, let me try writing to somebody else or something else or something because this ain't gonna work. And I didn't tell him that, but this was in my own mind while I was writing because it was just too hard to push through. So I put the stuff to the side, put their letters to the side, and I was like, man, what have I overcome or what have I, what have I gotten through in life and how did I make it through? And I said, man, I made it through everything with God. He gets the glory in all of my story, and that's it right there. So I began to think about it. I was like, man, what's some things I can write about that I can, be proud about or whatever. And I just got to writing, man. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning or so, and I'm writing. And first time I ever, actually written something that I completed. And when I did, I started it off, Dear X. So I went from there. And I had no one in mind, nothing at all, no one in mind at all. And I just wrote. And from there, it took me 2 hours to write that. That was the easiest chapter I had to write. And with that, while writing it, I felt free. I felt free. And I reread it to myself. And I was like, oh man, this is cool. And I was like, well, I don't know if he'll understand it. My therapist, when I read it to him or whatever, so I kept it to myself for a while and we started working on other things because he gave me time to do what I need to do. But I never told him I had shifted from writing my parents. But anyway, when I got the confidence enough, I went to his office and I read it to him. And man, he was like, that's amazing. You should share it with others. And I was like, I don't know about all that. No, sir. So I kept it to myself, and then I start writing other chapters and writing other things and people and whatever else. And from there, it just felt good to me, and it was easy, and it just kept coming to me. But didn't know how to write. Did not know. But anyway, with that, I got the confidence, start reading to couple family members, and they were like, no, I don't want to know you like that. And they just let me just get just a paragraph in. They would no. I said, look, y'all got to see what I'm talking about. No, they don't want to hear it. So I started reading to friends, and friends was like, oh, now you wrote that? Yeah, man, that ain't about you. And then some of them was like, when was you doing this? Because I've been knowing you for this from time frame, and this time, and they had questions. We laughed about it, but they all made me feel comfortable. And with that, we got to talking about stories, and they start opening up about their stories, about their lives. And it whether it was the same situation or something different, it just helped other people to open up. So from there, I kept hearing book. And I'm like, book. What, I'm not going to read this to the work. No, I was brought up. No, what happened in the house, stay in the house and you keep your business to yourself. You don't tell everything. And I was going through that. And my spirit just felt so different, and I felt at ease, and I felt comfort, and I felt led to that's what I was supposed to do. And so I prayed about it, cried about it, and everything. I'm like, look, Lord, because as I start writing other chapters, it was getting a little bit, I'm like, hold on, I don't know if this is something that I should share. And God kept telling me in different ways and showing me in different ways this is what I was supposed to do. So I went to my family and I was letting them know some of my chapters and things like that. And oh man, they were no. I had about 97% of my family that was like, no, I wouldn't do that. No, don't do that. This thing's but I had a few that were saying, hey, go and do your thing. I'm gonna stand behind you when you write, and then with that, that's why it took me so many years to do it, because I didn't want to just put it out and harm people. So with that, I had to pray on it. And while I was praying on this book now, while I'm praying on it, it took time because when I first started writing in therapy, I was writing from hurt and writing from hurt, sharing that with others is all you're going to do is hurt someone else. I wasn't writing, not saying writing from hurt will hurt other people. I'm saying I made targets. I was writing, I was angry and I'm writing and I'm like, oh man, you did this. And so the point of that, I needed to get that out, but that wasn't for me to share. So I kept praying on it and I'm like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And so when I would get the definite answer, this is what I'm supposed to do. But then I was like, well, it didn't feel comfortable. Every time I'm trying to put it, I didn't feel comfortable with the right time. And so God kept telling me to wait. And I'm like, wait, what am I waiting on? So then one time I got a strong weight. Now I'm sitting here and boy, I heard that thing so clear. And I'm like, hold on, whoa, okay, hold on. I got nervous, I got scared. I mean, oh Jesus. But with that being said, that wait moment was for a reason. And I'm glad I didn't move when others were telling me to move because I would have been wrong. So I had to rewrite some of my chapters and I had to rewrite them because I was still hurting and I wouldn't have helped anyone with that hurt. So I had to write from a different point and I had to write from healing because that is my purpose, is to help others heal. And with that, it took a lot because I went back in and I was like, all right, well, I didn't change my story to not hurt anybody's feelings. I changed my story because that was what was right. It's not right to point fingers or make someone your punching bag for something that they had no control over or something like that. So I had to go back through and I had to heal. So I put the promo chapter, my letter to my ex out first because that was a chapter that grabs a lot of people's attention. I've read some chapters to other people before posting it, but that was a chapter that caught a lot of people's attention. And so with that, I use it that way. But I do want to let it be known that I only put out and talk about what I've healed from. What I'm still healing from, I'm still healing from. So that's on the back burner. Anything I'm still healing from, but what I heal from, I ain't got no problem. I put that thing out with no issues whatsoever. But I did have to rewrite the story for that, for the purpose of writing to heal rather than writing to hurt. And that when I did the rewrites and I started reading those to other people, man, I could feel that it wasn't hurting pain that I had written from the second go round. So with that, that is where I got the idea to try to get other people to share their stories. And the thing about that is you don't have to share your story publicly. You ain't got to do that. That is not necessary. If you feel they're great, but that is not necessary. But getting it out is. Getting it out is some type of way. Speak it to yourself. Speak it to your best friends, your closest family, whomever. If you have something that is hurting you, and get it out before before it's too late and you do some damage to yourself or someone else. Or maybe you already have, because I did. I did a lot of damage to people not taking care of me and not working on me. And with that, man, I had no problem hurting other people, and I didn't even know I was the problem in certain situations. But with that, man, when you work on you, it's so different. It's so different. But with that being said, I don't want to keep this rambling on or nothing like that. But I did want to get to the point of the purpose of the brand before it's too late. And I would love to learn from other people, man, just to gather stories. So if y'all can reach out to me, and we can come up with some scheduled dates and times to be able to do interviews, and you guys can share your stories or have someone else share their stories on here. And there's no judgments, and mistakes are gonna be made, so you ain't got to worry about being perfect while you're on this mic. It's all cool, man. So with that being said, I do have a couple interviews coming up and some poems that I wrote that I wanted to share with you guys. So you guys tell me what you think as I post those and put them things up. With that too, well, I think I explained the whole birth of the brand. Oh, let me tell you how I got the name before it's too late. I do apologize for that right there, but let me tell y'all that I got the name before it's too late. Like I kept trying to come up with a name, and I prayed on it. Man, I fasted. I asked other people. It was just so much that was going on, and couldn't. And I mean, nothing really stood out, and nothing felt right. And I used to teach, and so one of my students had got in trouble, and he came in the office, and we were talking, and he was like, "You look so deep in thought. What you got on your mind?" And I said, "Oh man, I'm just trying to come up with a name for my little brand thing." And he was like, "Oh, okay." So I let it go. And he the next day he came, he knocked on the door, he said, "I got something for you." I said, "What you got for you, man?" And he said, "Before it's too late." I said, "Hey, you know what? Hey man, that's it right there. That's it right there." And it stuck with me. It stuck with me. That right there, that's my baby right there. It stuck with me. But that's where I got the name from, and I kept it. And I'm gonna keep it. That's a gift from my student, a gift from God that God gave to him to give to me, and I'm grateful and thankful for it. And so with that, I'm building off of that and building from that. And I do want y'all to know I am not tech savvy, but I'm working on it. I am working on it. So putting these things up, man, is a little task, but that's all right, man. I get through it and push forward. Also, that first episode, man, I recorded it. The X, I recorded it. How many times? The last time before I actually posted it, I I recorded, and man, the mic had died, so it didn't record nothing. I was so upset. So I pushed it, just pushed. I said, you know what, forget it. This is it, because that was my birthday, and that was a gift to myself, was to actually do what God tells me to do. And that right there, I did it, and I'm gonna keep on trying to do it. I'm gonna work. Y'all work with me as I'm pushing forward with these next things. But anyway, y'all be blessed, and thank y'all for tuning in again to Before It's Too Late. I'll talk with y'all later. Thanks for listening to Before It's Too Late. Remember, nothing shared here replaces professional help. If you need support, reach out. Take care of yourselves and each other. Until next time.